Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A Lutheran pastor's journey to Islam. The story of a person's journey to find the truth is often full of twists and turns and deep searching. One inspiring story is the journey of an American Lutheran Christian pastor who left his faith to embrace Islam after a long reflection on faith and spirituality. John Matthews was born into a devout Lutheran Christian family in the United States. Since childhood, he has shown a deep interest in theology and religious teachings. After completing his theological studies at a renowned seminary, John was ordained as a pastor. He is known as an inspiring spiritual leader and is respected by his congregation for his touching and philosophical sermons. However, behind his seemingly perfect life, John began to feel that something was missing. Big questions about the concept of the Trinity, original sin, and the relationship between humans and God began to haunt his mind. Family background and childhood. John Matthews was born in 1965 in a small town in Texas, United States. He was raised in a devout Lutheran Christian family. His father, Michael Matthews, was a Vietnam War veteran who later worked as a history teacher, while his mother, Linda, was a nurse who also taught Bible classes at a local church. The Matthews family was known to be active in the church community. Every Sunday, they never missed a service, and their home often hosted prayer group meetings. This environment instilled strong moral and spiritual values in John from an early age. As the oldest of 3 children, John was considered a natural leader. He was known to be intelligent, curious, and deeply religious. Even at a young age, he showed a deep interest in the Bible. Every night, he read the Bible before going to bed and often asked his father about the stories in it, education, and journey to the pastorate. After completing high school, John continued his education at a leading Lutheran Christian university. There he majored in theology with a focus on New Testament studies. John was an excellent student, often receiving awards for his insightful essays on Christian doctrine, particularly the concept of the Trinity and the Atonement. While at university, John was also active in student ministry activities. He often led Bible discussion groups and spoke at church events. His achievements led to his acceptance into a Lutheran seminary to pursue a more in-depth theological education. During his years at the seminary, John studied the philosophy of religion, church history, and ancient Greek in order to understand the New Testament in its original form. After graduating, he was ordained as a Lutheran minister and assigned to a church in Houston, Texas. There, he served his congregation with dedication, giving inspiring sermons, and helping the community with various social activities. Early life. John Matthews was an American Lutheran pastor who was born and raised in a devout Christian family. From an early age, John had a passion for studying the Bible and understanding man's relationship with God. After completing his education at a theological seminary, he was ordained as a pastor at a small church in Texas, where he served with dedication. As a pastor, John was often praised for his insightful and inspiring sermons. However, underneath it all, there was something he felt was missing, a spiritual longing that he could not quite define, the beginning of a spiritual quest. Although his life seemed perfect on the outside, John began to feel spiritually restless. There were aspects of church doctrine that he had difficulty understanding, especially the concept of the Trinity. As a theologian, he often pondered how one God could be divided into 3 persons without losing his oneness. These questions began to shake John's faith. He often pondered questions such as, why is Jesus called the Son of God, but also God himself? If God is one, why does the concept of the Trinity seem so complex? Is there another understanding of God that is simpler and clearer? In addition, John felt that there was a gap between church doctrine and everyday spiritual life. He began reading books from other religions, including Islam, to find answers to his anxiety. Disturbing questions. As he read more deeply into the Bible, John began to question some of the basic doctrines taught by the church, especially the concept of the Trinity. How could one God be divided into 3? Why was Jesus called God, but also the Son of God? These questions plagued his mind, but he found no satisfactory answers in church teachings. John's interest in other religions grew after he met a Muslim professor at an interfaith seminar. The professor introduced John to the Quran and Islamic teachings that emphasized Tawheed, the oneness of God, the influence of his origins on his search. John's origins as the son of a hardworking and dedicated family played a significant role in his search. The values instilled by his parents, honesty, humility, and sincerity in seeking the truth, shaped his attitude toward doubt. He believed that God intended for humans to use their minds and hearts to seek the truth. As he read Islamic literature, John was impressed by the simplicity of the Islamic concept of Tawheed, the oneness of God. He began to compare the teachings of the Quran with the Christian doctrine that he had been following. One of the verses that stuck in his mind was, Allah neither begets nor is begotten, and there is nothing equal to him. QS Al-Ikhlas 3-4. This verse seems to answer his confusion about the Trinity, providing a simpler understanding of the oneness of God. Early discovery of Islam. One day, John attended an interfaith discussion hosted by a university in a nearby town. There, he met a Muslim imam who introduced him to the interpretation of the Quran. Their conversation lasted for hours, discussing the similarities and differences between Islam and Christianity. The imam invited John to visit a local mosque and watch Muslims perform their prayers. When he heard the call to prayer for the first time, John felt a sense of peace that he had been searching for. Encounter with Islam. John began reading the translation of the Quran with great curiosity. One of the verses that stuck with him most was, "Say, O Muhammad, He is Allah, the One. Allah is the one to whom all things are asked. Allah has not begotten, nor is He begotten, nor is there anything equal to Him." Surah Al-Ikhlas 1-4. The simplicity and clarity of the concept of God in Islam brought John peace. He began attending interfaith discussions at the local mosque and interacting with the Muslim community. He was impressed by the way Muslims practiced their religion with discipline and sincerity. Journey to the Middle East. In an effort to understand Islam more deeply, John traveled to the Middle East to study Islamic culture and traditions firsthand. There, he felt a sense of peace when he heard the call to prayer 5 times a day. One of the most touching moments was when he witnessed thousands of Muslims praying in congregation with great devotion. John also spent time reading the interpretation of the Quran and talking to local scholars. He felt that all the spiritual questions that had been bothering him were beginning to find answers in Islam. The moment of decision. After years of searching, John felt his heart drawn to take a big step. One night, he decided to embrace Islam. With the guidance of an imam, John recited the Shahada. "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah." With tears of joy, John began his new life as a Muslim. New life. After converting to Islam, John took the name Abdullah, which means servant of God. He left his position as a pastor and began sharing his journey with others. Abdullah believed that his quest was not just for himself, but also to inspire others to not be afraid to seek the truth. He was active in the local Muslim community and became an advocate for interfaith dialogue. Abdullah also founded an organization that focuses on peace and understanding between religions. John Matthews' new life after converting to Islam. After taking the Shahada, John Matthews, who now chooses the name Abdullah as a symbol of his relationship with God, felt a spiritual peace he had never experienced before. He described the moment as coming home after a long journey. Abdullah felt that Islam provided answers to the spiritual questions that had been haunting him. Although he found peace in Islam, the move was not easy. Abdullah faced challenges from those around him. As a respected former pastor, his decision to leave his former religion surprised many, including his family, peers, and his congregation. Family and friends react. Abdullah's family was confused and disappointed by his decision. His mother, Linda, considered the move a betrayal of family tradition. His father tried to understand, but still found it difficult to accept the change. John's friends and colleagues at church initially responded with resistance, with some even trying to convince him to return to his old religion. However, Abdullah handled the situation with patience. He explained that his decision was the result of deep searching and not rebellion. He told them, "I still respect Jesus, but I have found peace in Islam, which explains the oneness of God perfectly." Adjusting to a new life, Abdullah began to learn about the daily practices of Islam. He learned how to pray, fast, and read the Quran in Arabic. The biggest challenge was adapting to the rhythm of Muslim life, such as waking up for the morning prayer and maintaining discipline in performing the 5 daily prayers. To deepen his understanding, Abdullah joined a local Muslim community. The community welcomed him warmly and helped answer questions and guide him in practicing Islamic law. He also began attending classes on fiqh, tafsir, and sirah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to strengthen his faith. New activities in the community. As a former pastor and theology graduate, Abdullah brings deep insights into religion that can be used to build interfaith dialogue. He is often invited to speak at mosques, universities, and interfaith conferences. In his talks, he shares his journey to Islam and emphasizes the importance of seeking the truth with an open heart. Additionally, Abdullah is an advocate for peace and interfaith tolerance. He believes that Islam teaches compassion and respect for all people, regardless of their religious background. In one of his talks, he said, "Islam taught me to love God and my fellow human beings sincerely. There is no place for hatred in true faith." Challenges in Western society. Despite finding peace in Islam, Abdullah faces challenges in Western society, which often views Islam with suspicion. He has received much criticism, even threats, from people who do not understand his decision. However, he remains steadfast in his beliefs. Abdullah also takes opportunities to educate the community about Islam. He founded a non-profit organization called Bridge of Faith, which aims to promote interfaith understanding and combat negative stereotypes about Muslims. Family life. Over time, Abdullah's relationship with his family began to improve. His mother, who initially strongly opposed him, began to accept that her son found peace in his new faith. His father, after much discussion, even became interested in reading a translation of the Quran. Abdullah also found a life partner from the Muslim community. Together with his wife, he built a small family that adhered to Islamic values. He raised his children to love God, respect all human beings, and be open to differences. Inspiration for others. Abdullah's story is an inspiration to many who are searching for a spiritual path. He wrote a book about his journey entitled From the Cross to the Crescent, A Journey of Faith and Love. This book became a bestseller and was read by people from various religious backgrounds. Through his books and lectures, Abdullah emphasizes the universal message that truth can be found by anyone who sincerely seeks it. He believes that his life is proof that God always guides those who truly seek him. The story of John Matthews is proof that guidance can come to anyone who sincerely seeks it. His journey teaches that the courage to ask questions and seek answers is the first step towards spiritual enlightenment. May this story be an inspiration to all who are searching for a path in life that is closer to God.